A driver takes a wrong turn. 30 seconds later, a teenager with a pistol gets the shot he'd given up on. It's June 28, 1914. Sarajevo. The motorcade crawls through narrow streets lined with cheering crowds. Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary sits upright in an open-top graph and stiffed, his wife Sophie beside him. The sun's bright, too bright. He adjusts his plumed military hat. The driver, Leopold Leuke, grips the wheel. No one in that car knows they're about to reshape the entire 20th century. But let's rewind. I've read the accounts, the logbooks, the witness statements, the confessions written in prison cells. What happened that day wasn't random. It was the collision of imperial arrogance, Serbian nationalism, and a conspiracy that stretched across borders. And it all hinged on a teenager who'd spent months preparing to die. Gavrilo Princip was 20 years old, tubercular, thin as a rail, a Bosnian Serb who'd joined the Black Hand, a nationalist militia bent on freeing Serbia from Austro-Hungarian control. In the spring of 1914, he and 5 other conspirators positioned themselves along the Appel Quay in Sarajevo. They had bombs, they had pistols, they had a target. Franz Ferdinand was the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. He was visiting Sarajevo to observe military maneuvers, a show of force in a region already simmering with resentment. The locals hated him, not just because of his rank, but because he represented everything the empire stood for: occupation, control, the erasure of Serbian identity. The morning started badly. One of the conspirators, Nedeljko Chabranovic, threw a bomb at the motorcade. It bounced off the car, exploded behind them, killed 2 officers. Franz Ferdinand was furious but unhurt. He insisted on continuing the schedule, a reception at City Hall, then a visit to the museum. The driver was instructed to take the same route back through town. Here's where chance enters the story. After the reception, the motorcade was supposed to take a different route, a safer one, but someone forgot to brief the drivers. Leopold Leuke didn't know. He turned onto Franz Joseph Street instead of heading toward the museum route. He was lost. And in that moment of confusion, Gavrilo Princip, who'd given up hope, who was sitting at a cafe nursing a coffee, saw the car approaching. Princip had a FN model 1910 pistol, 7.65mm, a pocket gun, not particularly reliable. He was standing maybe 6 feet from the car when Leuke realized his mistake and hit the brakes. The Archduke was practically stationary. Princip stepped forward. 2 shots. The first caught Sophie in the abdomen. The second hit Franz Ferdinand in the neck. Franz Ferdinand lived long enough to speak. "Sophie, Sophie, don't die. Stay alive for our children." Those were his last words. She was already gone. Within minutes, both were dead. Princip tried to shoot himself but was tackled by the crowd. He survived. He was arrested, and within weeks, the dominoes began to fall. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia. Serbia denied involvement, though the Black Hand had clear connections to Belgrade's government. Russia backed Serbia. Germany backed Austria-Hungary. France was allied with Russia. Within 6 weeks, the continent was at war. 8 million soldiers dead by armistice. Entire generations wiped out. And it all traced back to a wrong turn and a teenager with a pistol. But here's what keeps me awake about this case. Was it really just a conspiracy by Serbian radicals? Or did someone higher up know? The evidence is murky. Austrian investigators claimed Serbian officials were involved. Serbian officials denied it. The truth got buried in the trenches of the Somme and Verdun. Gavrilo Princip died in prison in 1918, just before the war ended. Tuberculosis. He was only 23. In his final days, he showed no remorse. He believed he'd struck a blow for Serbian freedom. He had no idea he'd ignited a war that would reshape the entire world. Sometimes history hinges on the smallest moments: a wrong turn, a man with a gun, a second of hesitation that never comes. The conspiracy theories persist. Some claim the Serbian government orchestrated it. Others argue Austria-Hungary wanted an excuse to crush Serbia. A few even suggest it was staged. I've read the primary sources. The logistics don't support the grand conspiracy theories. What we have instead is something almost more unsettling, a moment of pure chance that changed everything. The Archduke's death wasn't inevitable. The war wasn't written in stone. But once that pistol fired, the machinery of empire and alliance began turning. No one could stop it, not diplomats, not generals, not even the men who'd set it in motion. That's the real horror of Sarajevo, not the conspiracy, but the realization that one moment of violence could end millions of lives. Subscribe. Every week we investigate the assassinations that shaped history, the conspiracies behind them, the people who pulled the trigger, and the aftermath that still echoes today. There's always another case waiting. Subscribe. There's a new unsolved assassination every week, and the conspiracies run deeper than you think.